Hey everybody, we're back. I'm
Hey,
Rodney,
I'm
and we're
Candace.
cohort.
1986.
This is a special edition of our Meet the Owner series.
Yes,
It is back in full
yes,
effect.
yes. And for several reasons why Rodney is happy today. Okay. So our guest today is from
Chucktown 843.
okay, for y'all who don't know what that is Charleston, South Carolina.
So we have Jadesha Hair today, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to read a little bit about her. She is a native of the illustrious city of Charleston, South Carolina. Is the proud owner of MissToo Made It.
Mm-hmm.
Jadesha found her passion in personalizing items in high school. Anything that she could put a monogram on, from her car to her room on the wall, had one. She passionately believes in personalizing an object or item. It takes it to the next level. Alongside her passion for monograms, she graduated from Winthrop University
Yeah, right
in
on the
2020,
street.
December 2020. Congratulations on that.
Yes,
Thank you.
At
congratulations.
Winthrop, she was a student ambassador, orientation leader,
Wow.
member of AK Psi, Professional Business Fraternity,
Wow.
and a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Yes.
Keeping
Yes.
God in mind at all times,
Yeah.
her short-term and long-term goal is to continue to grow MissToo Made It. She believes
Awesome.
she believes when you make God a priority blessing becomes big.
Wow. That's
Look,
awesome.
round of applause for her.
Yes. Welcome.
So how are you doing this evening?
I'm well. Excited to be here.
We're excited to have
Good.
you.
We're excited to have you. So, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself to tell the people who you are? I know we already talked about you being from Charleston. So, what else should people know about you?
I was about to say, I feel like you just covered it. But to add to that, so I recently graduated from Winthrop, where I did receive my degree in healthcare management. I did work in healthcare for a little over a year, so mainly in undergrad and then 4 months post grad. And now I run my business full time.
That's
And
awesome. That's awesome. And if you guys hear that, she just graduated in 2020 and she is a full-time
Business owner,
entrepreneur.
man.
I mean, that's awesome.
So,
So,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So I have to ask you, like, whenever I was checking out your site, MissToo Made It. Who is MissToo and how did that come
How did
about?
that name? That's so unique.
I get asked that all the time. So ever since I was a little girl, my mom always called me that. It's honestly just a nickname. Like, and she still calls me that to this
That is
day.
so
I don't
cute.
know where it came from. I don't know why she calls me Miss Two, but it's just a nickname that she's just always called me. Like, that's been her name for me. So when it came to creating a business, and like trying to figure out a name for it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do custom items. I know that much. Like, but it was just gonna be like monograms and stuff. Like, I had no idea I would be where I'm at now. So I was like, okay, so something around like crafts. So I was like writing all these names. I was like crafts by Jay or whatever, just like literally basic names or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't want to do craft in my name. Or I don't want
Right.
customs in my name. And then I was like, oh, I could just use my nickname MissToo, because like many years ago, I had a business called MissToo Sitting Services, and I babysat kids.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have a little brother. We're 9 years apart. So I would watch him, and then like
Yeah.
other friends from his school and daycare and so forth, like their parents would let me watch them too. So I would have like
Wow.
2 or 3 kids like all day long, like over the summer before I could like legally get a job. But that's what I did. So I babysat. And I was like, okay, so I can stick with the MissToo. So it was MissToo Sitting Services back then. And I was like, okay, so MissToo what? So I just kept writing names out, like MissToo this, MissToo that, da 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 da. And needless to say, I ended up with MissToo Made It. And
I love it.
it just stuck. And everyone calls me that. Like even when I was in school, like on campus, I would always get called MissToo. And it's so weird to me because I'm so used to my mom calling me that. So when I'm in public or something and I hear someone MissToo, I'm like, oh, we're talking to me. I MissToo, and that's what everyone calls me.
Oh my gosh, I
love
love
it.
it.
I love it
I
so
love
much.
it. I know my nickname. It actually came from my grandparents. My nickname is Mooch. So if you hear Mooch somewhere, they're definitely talking to me because I don't know nobody else named Mooch except for me.
And so I want to ask you a question. So you obviously have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Did that come from your parents? Is your mom or dad a business owner, or It just happened.
It just happened. Not at all. Like my dad, he's a longshoreman, and my mom works for the government. So yeah, they don't own businesses at all. Like,
oh wow,
go to work every single day.
Wow.
I really don't know. I don't know. I just kind of like, well, when I started my business, that was about 2 years ago now. I just always knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I never saw myself necessarily being a business owner, but I was like, I felt like I was at a point, like I was just in college and I wasn't like passionate about nothing. Like I wasn't really like that happy with like my major or anything. I was just like, okay, I'm in school getting a degree. Like I didn't even switch majors because I started off pre-pharmacy. So I was a chemistry major and then I switched to business. In healthcare, yeah. So I was like, I'll just go on the management side of healthcare. I was like, I like helping people, so but yeah. So I really had no idea that I wanted, like, that I would open a business or anything. It doesn't come from my family or nothing. They're very supportive. Yeah. My parents are the reason I have my business. Like they funded it to get it started and everything.
Hey, go ahead, mom and daddy.
It's nothing like having that support. It's nothing like having that support of your people.
Very supportive, financially, and in other ways, obviously as well. Yeah, definitely. But other than that, as far as owning businesses, no. My mom recently got into a business. She does like yard signs and so forth in Charleston.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So she recently started doing that, but I feel like I definitely inspired her to.
Yes, you did.
Go ahead, claim it. You
I love
Mom.
it. You claim it.
I am. But no, other than that, no, we're just.
Wow.
I have a question.
That's pretty cool.
I have a question. So you obviously went to Winthrop and graduated this past December.
Yeah.
How was it being in school in the midst of a pandemic?
Yeah.
At first it was definitely an adjustment. At first it was kind of exciting because it was like, okay, we don't have to go to class anymore. I was like, okay, I'm fine with it. But then after a while, when it hit me that I was graduating in December and that I wouldn't be going back to campus, that's when I was like, oh, this is not that fun. Like I really wanted to go back to campus my last semester. So when it first happened, it was like, okay, cool. Like I'm fine with it or whatever. But then after a while, when summer came and it was like, oh, there's no graduation for class of 2020. And I was like, okay. So I was like, by December, we're going to have a graduation, right? Nope. December roll around, no graduation, no, literally.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's when it hit me. And I mean, I was fine with that. I mean, it's like, okay, I was like, it is what it is. I mean, no, it wasn't the best situation. I would have loved to have gone to campus at least once or twice a week for class or to see people or just to be around them besides virtually. But it is what it is. I made it through. So
yeah. And that's the most important thing. But, I just couldn't imagine, just kind of thinking back years ago when I graduated from school, not having that opportunity. I was one of those people, if it rained outside, I was not going to class. Like that day, y'all can count it off, mark it off, whatever y'all need to do. But that is such an adjustment. And for you to have been able to work your way through that, that's absolutely amazing. So I applaud you and everyone else for finishing strong. And finishing up those degrees, because there were some people who were just like, I can't deal with all of this at once.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot. It was.
Yeah.
So, MissToo Made It. When did you officially start your company?
Summer. So May 14th of 2019.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just so I got everything. Like that March, I want to say that's when I got all my supplies and stuff for the business. But I was in the process of joining AKA, and I was still in school, and I was just busy with everything, and I knew all that was coming up. So I was like, okay, I'm going to work on it in the background, prep everything, like figure out what I'm going to do, try and work on a website and so forth, practice using my machines. And so I just kind of did that for a couple of months. And then finally one day over the summer, like I got everything together and I just like went for it. I was like, okay, my website's live. Here you go. Go shop. Like nobody bought anything. Literally, it just launched. And I was all excited about it and everything. And then like, I don't think I got no sales. I mean, people of course like reshared it and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from over time, I would get little sales. But I guess during that time is when I like got started. It didn't start picking up until like months later or so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. I do have a question. So I always ask everybody this, and it sounds like we may know the answer, but I still have to ask. So what were who was your inspiration growing up, and what did you think that you wanted to be when you grew up?
Honestly, if anything, my mom is my inspiration. Like, and there's like no particular, like, I guess like a famous person. I feel like some people are always like, oh, I looked up to so and so. Like, honestly, I just looked up to my mom. Like, she was my person, literally. She's like hardworking. She literally has just been the best, honestly. So
I love it. I absolutely love it. So did you think that you, like when you were growing up, did you like want to be like a pharmacist, or?
I had no real like desires. I don't know. I felt like, okay, so I discovered that I wanted to be a pharmacist in high school, like, because I really liked chemistry in high school. So that became, I was like, what could I do with chemistry? And I spoke to my chemistry teacher at the time, and she was like, oh, you could be a pharmacist. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be a pharmacist. And that's how that came about. And that's why I'm not a pharmacist today, because she just like said it to me, and I was like, yeah, I can do that. And I looked up like how much money they make. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, I can really do that.
I can really do that.
And was like, no, I don't want to be a pharmacist. Like, this is not for me. I never had no real like career path, like passion, or anything growing up. I'm trying to think, like, honestly, no. It was never nothing that I said I like wanted to be. Like, I had doll babies and I play with their hair all the time. So at one point in time, I thought I could be a hairstylist. But then I was like, do I really want to do hair all day long? So yeah, that's clearly not a thing, because I don't like doing hair. I don't even like doing my own hair. So
yeah, me either. I totally understand that. I'm kind of like that kind of person too, just kind of talking to you. I'm starting to see a lot of similarities because like when I was growing up, I was like always here. I was doing this, I was doing that, you know, magazines. I would make like my own books, magazines. I would do baby doll's hair, but I really never, you know, settled in on a particular thing. So, and it's kind of funny because I'm kind of like that as an adult as well. That, you know, I just don't want to be boxed in to one particular thing. So I just think it's absolutely awesome that you're following your path, that you're doing what you want to do in life, and you're doing it your way. So I just wish I had half of what you have now. You know, so yeah, you're gonna make me cry. I mean, this is really awesome to see a young Black woman carving out her own path in this world. So I just think it's awesome what you're doing. So before I cry, I just want to ask you more about your company. What kind of products do you have? Like what do you offer? What are your products and services?
Okay, so I do custom graduation stoles. So mainly for college graduates. I do high school grads as well, but my main audience is college grads. And then I do custom shirts. So for events, family reunions, organizations, literally anything. I do like group orders, or I do individual orders. Okay. And then also I do Greek paraphernalia. So I'm an authorized vendor for AKA. So I mainly cater to my sorority, but outside of that, I do offer items for the other fraternities and sororities as well.
Wow.
And I do embroidery as well. I do have an embroidery machine. So
wow.
Yeah.
So what is your hottest selling item?
AKA paraphernalia and graduation stoles.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what kind of things do you put on the stoles?
Like accomplishments, the year you're graduating, your school, literally everything. I have some over there if you want me to grab one.
Yeah, bring them on. Let's show the people. Guys, while we're waiting on her to get back, I'm really excited to see these stoles. Graduations are coming back up before we know it again. In December. We have December coming up. We have May coming up, and some off cycles graduations as well. So are these the stoles?
Okay, yes. So these are actually mine. I made two for myself, of course. Wow. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh my God, that is beautiful.
Yeah. So on one side, I'll do like the school name and organizations or so forth, or any volunteer, whatever the student pretty much wants to go on the stole. And then the other side, if they're like a part of a Greek organization, usually that takes up a whole side of a stole on its own. So
nice.
And usually, how long does it take you to make those?
I get asked that all the time, and honestly, I don't know. So the designing process could take me anywhere To like design a stole could take me anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. It just depends on like how complex the person wants the design to be. If they want like the words to be double layered or something, or if they want like complicated images, and then in my system I'll have to like break them apart. So if it's like one logo and it's like 3 different colors, I have to break it into 3 separate images. So that can be a little time consuming. So that's one part of it. And then, you know, I have to send it to them, and once they approve it, we go back and forth on that. They're like, oh, I don't want that, or can I change that, or can you make this smaller? And some people are like, oh, I like it, perfect, no changes. And then there's some people who are like, back and forth. So that takes some time. And then once I get past that part of the conversation, that's when I can actually make the stole. And to make it, again, it just depends on how full their stole is, if they have a lot of items going on it, or if it's just a few. But that can take anywhere, probably, I'd say like 30 minutes to an hour just to make one stole.
Wow. So guys, when you guys see her prices, this is why. There is a creative process that happens. Did you guys hear her, how she has to take away some of these layers and break some of these layers down for some of these images that you're sending? I mean, I would have been lost. Like if the image just wouldn't go on my Cricut or whatever machine I'm using, I'm like, I'm done with it. Like to break it down with layers. I mean, gosh, like how did you get started with, you know, it's one thing to start doing artisan work, but to kind of take it to the next level. Like
when did you discover like you had that talent?
My customers made me discover I had that talent. I never knew. It's from people asking me to do things. That's how I was able to figure out that I was able to do more and more. Like one girl, like she asked me one day, she's like, can you make a graduation stole? I was like, I've never made a graduation stole. How do you even do that? And she was like, I'm willing to let you practice, even if it's not the best, like just go for it. And I was like, okay. And I'm so glad she did that, because from there, like stoles, like I said, they're like one of my top sellers. And I've grown, like even from her graduation stoles to stoles that I make now, they look so different. I honestly feel even bad for even charging her for her. She loved it though. She was like, oh my gosh. And so she took her graduation pictures in it and everything. And I look back at that stove and I'm like, oh, definitely made a lot of progress. Yeah. But then that was just last year. She was a COVID grad. So it was definitely just last year when I made that stove for her, and it have definitely improved a lot. But that's just like one example. But like when it comes to like making shirts and like doing more with what I do in general, honestly, for my customers, they're like, can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm like, I've never done that before, but I'm willing to practice. So then I'll practice. And then from there, I just learn like, oh, I can do this, or, oh, I can do designs like this. And it just goes from there.
That's absolutely amazing. And you say you also do embroidery. So are you doing it on like shirts or hats or?
Yes. So I do mainly just shirts right now. And I can do like bags, but as far as hats, I haven't learned how to do that yet. I can do hats. Like my machine's able to do it. I just don't know how to do it. I've only like practiced one time during doing hats, and it was complicated, and I just like never did it again. But
Gotcha. So how has the reception from the greater Winthrop community been to your business?
Yeah.
Have they been quite supportive?
Yes, Winthrop has definitely like very, very helpful. Like that's the reason, honestly, I would say Winthrop is like the bulk of my business as to why I'm like where I'm at now. Like from people sharing it, just all my friends, people that don't even know me, they call me MissToo, like because they know me from my business. And I get a lot of customers from Winthrop that I don't even know. Like I've never seen them before. I may have seen them, but haven't had a conversation with them. And they're like supporting me or buying something. And I'm like, oh wow, thank you. And like, yeah. So definitely like so much help from Winthrop, so much support from Winthrop.
Wow, gotcha. That's really cool. So I do have to ask you, so what advice would you give to someone who's looking to get started? I know you've kind of shared your path. I know also on your website, it kind of talks about you kind of even starting to do this in high school. Like what kind of advice would you offer up to another young entrepreneur?
Honestly, I would say just go for it. Like definitely do your research. watch YouTube was a big help for me. Just watching YouTube videos, following other businesses who do things similar to what you want to do or so forth, and just communicating with people. But definitely just go for it. Like, don't wait, don't sleep on it. Like, just go for it. Because if you put it off and the more you think about it, and then you're like, oh, I don't think I should do it or whatever. No, just go for it. That's literally what happened. Like, what kind of the little background story on me starting my business is my friend was one of my close friends was at one of her friends' houses, and she had a Cricut, and that's what I started my business with, the Cricut. And she like posted the Cricut and showed them making monograms, and I was like, wait, what machine is that? So I went to her house a few days later, and I spoke to her. I was like, yeah, I saw you were around some monogram machine the other day. Like, what was that about? And she told me what it was. So I went home that night and I looked up the machine, figured out how much it cost and so forth. And then a few days later, me and my dad, we met on his lunch break. So a few days later, me and my dad, we met on his lunch break. I went home to Charleston, and I was like, so I think I want to start a business. And I was like, how I'm into monograms and personalizing stuff. So I was like, that's what my business is going to be. I'm going to monogram stuff. Eventually, I'm going to get a heat press. So I'll be able to make shirts and go from there. But I was like, I want to start a business. And he was like, okay, well, how much is it going to cost? And I was like, I probably need around like $500, $600 to get started. Yep. And he was like, okay, cool. He was like, I got you. And then a few days later, I checked my bank account.
Love it.
$100.
Go ahead, daddy. Go ahead, daddy.
So then I spoke to my mom about it as well. I told her, we had the same conversation. She just wasn't with us at the lunch that day, but she already knew everything. And so then from there, they gave me the money or whatever, and I just went and bought the Cricut. And then a few weeks later, I got the heat press machine. And then from there, it just kept going. I just went for it. Literally, I didn't think about it much. I did research, obviously. I knew what I needed to get, knew how much to expect for costs and everything getting started, but definitely just go for it. If you want to do it, if you feel like, and stick with it too. Just be consistent. Right. I think that's my biggest thing, just being consistent, constantly posting, sharing, even doing giveaways, even like to close family and friends. Obviously do it with intention. Don't just give it away to them because they're your friends and your family, but make sure like when you give it to them, say, hey, I'm expecting a social media post or something out of this. Right. For free. Like, share with your friends, share with your family, post a boomerang on Instagram, something. So that's been my biggest thing too, because I would give my friends a lot of stuff in the beginning, but I'm like, I need to see this on your story. Like,
I agree. Tag me. Tag me. Yeah, that's really good advice. And there are a couple of things I want to break out from that. One is you kind of put together that business plan, at the time informally, like, hey, Dad, been looking at the machine. I know what I need to get started, and just kind of making that a goal and making that a priority. Because a lot of people were, you go spend that kind of money at the mall, just grabbing stuff. Or at Walmart. I mean, you can't go to Walmart and not spend less than $100. Like, I don't know how that works. But I mean, that's just awesome that, your parents saw that you were interested and they invested in you. So, I mean, big ups to having that support system. I know that's really big in my life as well, just having that support system. Like, my husband bought me a Cricut for Christmas, then my mama and my dad and all of them, they got me like all these accessories and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I need a heat press. And then my husband's like, okay, I'll get you a heat press. So now I've gotten suckered into making t-shirts. So now I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to have to start getting some returns on these t-shirts that I've been making.
And so you mentioned that you're doing this full time. So how was it stepping out into faith and going into your business full time as an entrepreneur?
It was scary. It happened in a matter of like 2 weeks. Like so I was getting really, really busy with business. Like, and I was having to tell people no. I was like, I can't do this in your requested time. I'm not going to be able to cater to your order, or I can, but you're going to have to wait. And it just was like, I just had this feeling. I was like, this is weird. Like, I just had this constant feeling like I needed to leave my job. I was like, you're being called to do your business full time. Right. You should not. Like, I was not okay with telling the people no, no, but I wasn't like trying to be money hungry either. I wasn't going to be like, oh yeah, I can do it. But then I'm working a full-time job and then doing my business full-time, and then I'm not giving good quality or whatever. I was like, I was like, no. So I was just telling people no left and right. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. I was like, ultimately, I want to do my business full-time. I just didn't expect it to come so soon. I was thinking like in another year from now. I was like, okay, I'll work. I got a new job or whatever. And I was like, I'll work this job for at least a year. And then, I'll step out and I'll do my business full time. So like I said, I just had this like pressing feeling over and over. And I just like kept praying about it. And like, I would just like pray and cry like for 2 weeks straight, like constantly, like just like, that's all I would do. And I'm like, okay, like you can't keep like, God is giving you signs and you can't keep ignoring it. So I was like, okay, you gotta listen. So then I have this prayer app and I go on it every single morning. And one of the prayers that day basically said like, you need to use the talents God like bless you with to bless others. And when I read that, I was like, so I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I think I'm going to do it. And my parents was behind me 100%. They were like, you'll be just fine. At the end of the day, you have us if you need to. That's right. You have a degree, so you can just go back up to somebody's job and work at some job or whatever. You will be okay. Just do it. And all my close friends are like, yeah, you need to do it. And I didn't share it with much people, but the few people that I did share with, there was like, Jadesha, you need to do it. Like, you'll be fine. Like, you're okay. And then my very close friend, he was just like, we talk every single day. And he was like, did you quit your job yet? And I was like, no. And he didn't want to talk to me for a day. Well, like I was asking him questions and he was like ignoring my questions because I didn't quit my job. And I was like, okay, sir, I'm going to go do it right now. I was like, goodbye or whatever. Then, literally, I gave them a week's notice. I was like, I'm leaving Friday. Like, this is my last day. And they, so I sent the 2 week notice, well, the 1 week notice in, and they were like, I was like, yeah, so I'm leaving. And my manager, she messaged me and was like, oh, I'm sad to see you go. We have to have a meeting or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. So we get into the meeting and her manager was in the meeting and she like went off on me. Like she was not the most pleasant person. Wow. It was not a very pleasant experience leaving. Like, honestly, after that meeting, I wanted to just leave the job like in that moment. And I was like, you know what, this is what I needed to happen to know like I didn't need to stay at this job any longer. So
thank God, so good. Yeah. He took you out of the situation.
So I was like, well, can you at least stay? Like, she wanted me to stay an extra week. And I was like, no, ma'am. And in my letter, I stated, I was like, I apologize for it being such a short notice. However, I am going to leave. And she's like, can you stay at least the full 2 weeks? And I was like, no, ma'am, I can't. Especially after that meeting. I was like, I'm not any longer. Like,
you don't owe them anything.
You don't owe them anything.
Yeah. And that I was like, I'm not leaving to go work for another company. I'm leaving to work for myself. So ultimately, I don't really need y'all referrals or anything. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm gonna be okay. I was just like, I'll be fine. So I wrote it out for the rest of that week. And that Friday, it was a work from home job. So that Friday morning, I packed my laptop up, packed the desktop up, went to UPS, dropped it off. I was like, I told my team goodbye that morning. I went ahead and sent my message. I told them why I was leaving because my manager didn't communicate that with them or whatever. So I communicated with them. I was like, yeah, I'm leaving to do my business full time. And I gave them my business. I was like, if y'all want to shop or anything, let me know. Yes. So I dropped that in there. I sent that message around like 10 o'clock that Friday morning. And by 11 or so, I was out and I was sad.
Wow. You're a strong Black woman. Mm-hmm. I mean, for you to have gone through that at such an early age, and for you to say, you know what, I still don't need this. I don't need this stress. I don't, I have to follow what my path is.
Right.
I mean, that's awesome. So I know Rodney wanted to ask you about something.
So I want to ask you about your quote.
Yeah.
And the quote is, she believed she could, so she did. She believed so she did. So what's the meaning behind that quote and what does it mean to you?
So ever since I've been younger, that's been like my favorite quote. I just live by it. Really, I just believe in myself and then I do it. And I'm like, if I know I can do it, if I could see myself doing it, then I do it and I just go for it. And every single time, like I have to, when I go to do something like different or tough or, I want to venture out and do something, I'm like, I believe I can, so I will, and I'll do it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So I have to ask you, what do you enjoy most about owning your own company? So, like, what are your top 3 things that you enjoy most?
So in regard to what I do, I like when I like when my customers when they receive their items and they're just like, oh my gosh, like it's exactly what I wanted, or it's even better than I expected. So I enjoy that. I guess the satisfaction that I get just from pleasing my customers. So that's one thing. What else? I enjoy working for myself overall, just having the freedom to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And just to know that I'm my own boss, just not having to like work for anyone overall, and don't have to like respond to no one. Of course my customers, yes, but I'm in control of what goes on in my own timing of it all. So yeah, I guess those would be my favorite things. I guess you could say.
Those are awesome. Those are awesome. That freedom. I mean, that freedom.
You can't beat the freedom. You can't beat the
you
freedom.
cannot beat it.
Yes.
So in the next 5 years, where do you see MissToo Made It, and what's on the horizon for you?
So honestly, I would like to have a storefront. I never saw myself having one. People ask me that all the time. When I first started my business, when it started to pick up, they're like, do you want to open a store? Like, would you ever have a store? And I was like, no, I think I'm going to stay all online or whatever. And I do like local pickups if you live in the area. Like I let people come over, or I'll meet them, I'll do that much. But now I had a dream one night that I like saw myself in this like boutique, and it was my business, and it was just so pretty, and I just like saw myself walking through and like just straightening things, and it was like my store. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, and it had just been on my mind ever since that morning. I was like, and I like saw how everything was in the store, how everything was laid out, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely like, I want to open a store. So that's kind of what I see myself, opening a storefront and just growing the online part of it as well, because the big bulk of my business will be online, but just having that location for people to come to and they can design their store in person if they would like, or they can pick out the items that they would like and just visually see it. They can try it on, take pictures in the store. I just see myself being in that environment.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I can see you doing it. I see you there too. I mean, I don't know what your store looks like, but I just can't wait to visit it in the next couple of years. So I'm so excited for what you're going to do in the future and what you're doing now.
MissToo, can you tell people how to reach out to you if they want to place an order or just have questions for you?
Yeah, where to find you?
You can do it through Instagram. I use Instagram a lot. Like I'm always on it, especially on my business page. I do respond to DMs on Instagram. And then if it's like about placing an order specifically, then I have an email address, and it's just info@MissTooMadeIt.com. So you can reach me through email. And then my website as well. I actually have a contact form on my website. So on the homepage of the site, you just fill out the contact form, and then I'll contact you directly.
Yeah. And all of her information will be on our site, Cohort 1986. So under our community page, we have MissToo Made It now. So you guys better go over and check out MissToo Made It to get all of your custom items. I mean, everybody wants t-shirts. So instead of asking me, head over to her, head over there. She got it covered for y'all. I'm telling you, I'm not doing t-shirts for people. Don't ask me. The other week, I did like couples t-shirts for a retreat. That was it. I did like 10 shirts in a week, and I was tired. I'm still tired from making those t-shirts. So
you might have an order coming up pretty soon for December.
Well, yeah, for her to do you a stole, yeah.
So
yeah, she can do yours, but I wouldn't even try it. So let's leave it to the professionals. So, Rodney, where can people find us?
You can find us at cohort1986.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Maybe one day when we get younger, or if that doesn't happen, or get an intern.
TikTok ain't looking too good.
It's not looking good at all. And then you can find us on the podcast form for Apple, Google Pods, Breaker, Spotify,
yeah,
iTunes as well.
And where else can people find us now?
On WDRB Media, iHeartRadio.
Yes.
So you can find us on iHeartRadio every Thursdays at 10:15 a.m.
Yes. Too excited. All right. So, MissToo, is there anything else that you would like to tell the people or any words that you want to leave them with?
Yes, so definitely follow me on social media. Everything is MissToo Made It. I have an Instagram, a TikTok, a Twitter, and a Facebook, and all of those are all the same exact MissToo Made It. And I actively use all of them. So definitely follow me, and thank you for having me here today.
Yes.
No problem.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming and sharing your experiences.
Yeah.
And we really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And MissToo Made It is MISSTOO Made It.
Yes.
I just want to clarify that for the people.
Yes. So, all right, guys. Until next time.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, MissToo.
Thank
you guys
you.
have a wonderful afternoon, evening, or morning, whatever you choose to listen.
Bye, guys. Bye.